Today we are going to talk about the family business. I want to do this relatively quickly, and simply because Britney had mentioned yesterday about her father, and if we can expedite holding him accountable in any way, we should do that. Jamie has known the Maloofs, who owned Palms Casino, since at least 2001, and Larry Rudolph and George Maloof are best buddies. Here he is working the Super Bowl at Planet Hollywood for a charity event Britney was running. And what you'll see is, despite changes in ownership, the same brands keep coming up over and over. I feel that Black Box Security has been under investigated, and they really are the ones who helped maintain power and control over Britney on the day-to-day level. What you'll see is Black Box is run by Idan Yemeni, who is former Israeli Special Forces. So is Aaron Cohn, who's the one who was the process server for CONSERVATORSHIP, and he served Ali Sims, Sam Lefty, and Britney during the custody case. The interesting thing is, when Ronan Farrow was reporting on Catch and Kill, he was being surveilled by Black Q, who is also former Israeli intelligence officers or special forces. What you'll see is the top entertainment power players are not only protected via the threat of a blacklist if they spoke out, such as what Ashley Judd faced, they are also protected via the same types of former intelligence officers operating in the US. Idan's first business was actually Nature Relief Incorporated, which was like an herbal supplement business, and it was founded in 2003. Nature Relief Inc. is actually the same business as Black Box. They filed to change the name. Pretty big leap from natural supplements to executive protection, bodyguard, security detail services, right? Brittany the Stan has a good thread on Jamie's Smoothie Shop. I recommend you check that out. Here it is, dated July 25th, 2021. Here we have Jamie and Lynn at a Woman in Rock event. Obviously, you have to promote your new book on the red carpet. This is very interesting because of the players. We know Dr. Phil comes up later in early 2008. We know Celine was the legacy act that kind of warmed up Vegas for Britney. Andre Agassi was partners with Steve Devo-DiVici, who ran Pure Management Inc., which was a lot of those hot clubs in Vegas. Andre Agassi ended up suing them for a number of reasons, including deceptive business practices, fraud, etc. Also note, this is 2004, and we know what was happening around then. It was Britney getting married, and so they had to start their own side hustle, I suppose. I truly don't believe this has gotten enough coverage at all whatsoever. I think it's imperative to note, just because the players end up being a key business aspect of Britney's Las Vegas residency. Jamie starts an online poker business with the owners of the Palm Casino and John DeCastro. This is important because the Maloofs come up over and over again in the story of Britney Spears' career trajectory, as well as Larry Rudolph's. I was looking on Twitter one day. Someone had posted that James Spears had a business registered in California that had TriStar's address on it in Nashville. And then I realized that I had seen numerous reports that Jamie and Jason Alexander were neighbors in 2006. There's press reports that Jason Alexander is comforting Britney as her and K-Fed have relationship problems, and their addresses are the same street and just a few house numbers down. Here we have K-Fed name-dropping the Maloofs in his new song, Crazy. Here is the actual business records of Jamie in California You'll see it is Bluffside Drive. I need to add Jason's. When Lynn is promoting Through the Storm, she denies that her book was ever a parenting book. Yet, here you have her publisher saying that her book about parenting has been indefinitely delayed in December 2006. There are so many strange bedfellows in this story. Jason Alexander is writing a tell-all book about Britney, and he's hanging out with Shard Jackson, who he later is reportedly dating. It is a repeated pattern that he talks shit about the family, then quickly course corrects, as I assume he was likely incentivized by money. At times, he is starting a music business or a clothing label, and given what he's up to now, I don't imagine those businesses have done too well. I find this picture 100% infuriating. Here's Aaron Cohen. I just know that ultimately Black Cube and Black Box will be connected in some way, and that they are a function of the most powerful people in Hollywood. Here we have a transcript of TMZ's Harvey Levine on Fox News, and he is able to repeatedly speak with absolute authority on Britney's circumstances, and he receives no pushback from the Spears family spokesperson. It is interesting that Phil McGraw received so much grief, and Harvey didn't. As Sam Lefty said in Britney vs. Spears, if you're drugging the biggest pop star in the world, you call the cops. You don't call TMZ. There's a repeated pattern of players involved in the conservatorship also being involved with TMZ. Here we have Jamie as Adrienne Malouf's personal chef. She's on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. It is very hard to find this fact, but I found it published that Adam Streisand reported to the court that Britney was missing $40 million and that her parents were so freaked out they called the IRS. Within days, the IRS raided Pure Management Group, and I can't imagine how amazingly coincidental that is. Can you? Allie, Britney's bestie, was supposed to have a reality show through Malouf Productions. It did not go through because it wasn't a good time. This is January 10th, and they're already describing Britney's circumstances as being of long duration. If you have ever been involved in the mental health care system in America as just a regular person, they try to get you in and out of those facilities as quickly as possible. Basically, once you are stabilized. I've been in from anywhere from 24 hours to 9 days. I understand that you can get more comprehensive care if you are wealthy, yet they were pushing this narrative that she needed ongoing long-term care well before the conservatorship ever took place. When Britney was taken to the hospital, it cost Los Angeles taxpayers $25,000 for Britney to be escorted to the hospital. It's funny, though, that so many paparazzi were able to be there and photograph the whole thing. There were helicopters and a SWAT team. And interestingly, Aaron Cohen trained SWAT teams. Just as like a side hustle. These stories really didn't get much traction in the popular imagination of how the conservatorship was framed. Yet you can find stories where people are pulling their hair out at how much people are profiting off giving Britney legal help. I've always wondered how exactly they had the idea to place Britney into a conservatorship. When Ron Artest auctioned off his Lakers championship ring, he gave all the money to behavioral health centers, and one of them happens to be in Nashville called Centerstone. I always wondered how they had the idea for the conservatorship. Yeah, a lot of behavioral health centers have all sorts of services, whether it's for people with developmental disabilities, mental health conditions, adult day programs, assistance with family caregivers, etc. So, despite Ron Artest not having any connection to Nashville beyond Lou Taylor, he donates money to Nashville's Centerstone. And if you go to their website, they have a ton of services. In this era of Lou Taylor's career, she seems to recruit celebrities who are in crisis. Therefore, they are probably engaging in mental or addiction services as a component of getting their career back on track. It's not hard to imagine that many of these facilities are holistic, such as Centerstone in Nashville. This may include clients who routinely are placed in conservatorships because of their perceived or real inability to care for themselves, and you will have social workers or other behavioral health experts facilitate that process. If you go to IMDb, you can see that Jamie Spears worked on the Maloof Money Cup, which was a skateboarding championship. They really wanted to be cool and edgy despite growing up as billionaires. I think it's very hard to be cool if you were born to that kind of wealth. You definitely could never be punk rock. So if you look on IMDb, he's going to be here in 2008. Hi, Jamie. Jason Alexander is a whole video onto himself. In late 2007, he's saying that Casey Aldridge, who is Jamie Lynn Spears' baby daddy, should watch out for the Spears because they're terrible people and they have all these consultants that will give him a raw deal. So he complains about not making enough money from the annulment. Yet he quickly changes his tune in February 2008 by saying that Britney doesn't even want to be a full-time mom and her parents are lovely people. If that isn't him getting paid off, I really don't know what is. This is when Lynn goes on the Today Show and tells Meredith Vieira it was never supposed to be a parenting book. I cannot imagine how painful it is to have your mother go on a TV show, and when they're doing the intro to your segment, they use all these traumatizing videos of you. That's just mean and making money off you. Here we have Britney hanging out with clothing entrepreneur Jason Alexander in October 2008. I've also seen reports where he is her butler. Here, Allie Sims goes on Access Hollywood and says that the Spears family has sequestered Britney from everybody else, and Allie was threatened by Jamie Spears and she didn't want to fight 9 lawyers. Yet at the same time, she is promoting her music career, and when she releases her first single, she says it's about Britney. She's basically said she's had no contact, but she's been involved with people adjacent to Britney and the conservatorship, as Adrienne Maloof introduced her to her husband, who was the heir to IMG, which later merged with WME Endeavor. Here is Jamie on the Maloof Money Cup again. Now he's upgraded from executive assistant to director assistant. I am not sure if that is a promotion or a demotion. I know there have been a few clips of Britney being interviewed abroad about her freedom, yet there are a number of articles in print in international news that clearly indicate that she does not want to be in the conservatorship. I think it's interesting that essentially there was a media blackout in the United States. I really don't think it's any different from Catch and Kill when it pertains to Harvey Weinstein, or what the National Enquirer did for Donald Trump with that former adult movie actress. I'm skipping a lot of stuff because I want to keep this video short because one day I will release the timeline. Here we have a news article that says Britney has to stay in the conservatorship if she wants to fulfill the stipulations of her Vegas contract in 2013. One thing I will say about Jamie Lynn Spears is that she routinely rides Britney's coattails when she is doing things to launch her own career. Here we are in an era where Britney is announcing her Vegas residency, and what is Jamie Lynn doing? She's making a comeback. And of course, the coverage uses a pun about her being pregnant. Jamie Lynn Spears is making a comeback, and the fruits of her labor are beginning to trickle out. In 2014, you got Jamie working with the Maloofs again at a Super Bowl party. I think it's a huge conflict of interest that Brian Spears worked for Caesars and lived with Britney during her Vegas residency. Can you imagine your employer living with you and having complete control of your life as a proxy for your father's conservatorship? We have coverage of how Jamie is getting a percentage of the Vegas money. The Hillary Clinton thing is a whole to-do. We have Britney doing a cameo in Jamie Lynn's documentary. Interestingly, in November 2016, Britney releases Slumber Party, which is super hot, high production value, all about enjoying yourself, your body, your friends, your lovers, etc. Can you believe that a few months before, Jamie Lynn Spears released Sleepover, and it's all about purity culture, waiting till you're in love, and about being basic and boring? Here's Jamie Lynn announcing her partnership with Monster Energy, and I just think the headline's hilarious. I don't know that she is an award-winning singer-songwriter. The funny thing about award-winning is that it's so overused. I myself am an award winner because I had perfect attendance in 5th grade and I got a trophy for it. Oops. We have Brian Spears working at the Palms starting in March 2019. This is interesting because that is when TPG Capital and Apollo sold Caesars, and Brian was working at Caesars. Anything that happened in early 2019 is suspicious because that's when Britney was forced into treatment. I'm just mad that he said that Britney's fans were our fans. But he did inspire this whole category on my timeline, which is the family business. And what we know now is that it is the family businesses. Rudolph's kids, Irving Azoff's kids, etc., etc. If you think monarchy is wrong, well, let me tell you, that's exactly what happens in Hollywood. They all protect their own. I just made this graphic from a rally we had here in DC. I'm committed to this cause until we take it all the way to the top and we get justice for Britney and anyone else that's being exploited. This whole conservatorship would never have happened if we had a true free press, a culture that doesn't only see famous people as brands and idols to worship, and we didn't have monopolies across industries, because essentially a monopoly is an authoritarian system. It is what kept everyone from speaking out because no one wants to give up their fame to speak out for justice. 13 years, y'all. I don't know why people can't just go work at a grocery store. Why? I'm gonna leave you with that. I love you and I hope to have this done soon. Take care.